So if your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life, your brain is a reflection of your external environment. Your brain is an artifact of all the things you've learned and experienced in your life. If you're not in a state of creation every single day, wouldn't you agree then that if you get up and you do the same thing as you did the day before, you're working off the old hardware in the brain and you're thinking in familiar ways? How many people are with me? And if you are seeing the same people and going to the same place and doing the same thing at the same predictable time, all for the experience of some emotion that reaffirms your identity, and that emotion that you've become familiar with, that you call you, has everything to do with your past, and those emotions are driving how you think, then for the most part you're thinking in the past. Would you agree? And those same thoughts will always lead to the same choices. And those choices will be unconscious choices that will lead to unconscious behaviors. And those unconscious behaviors will create the same experiences, all for the payoff of the emotion that reaffirms the identity. And that familiar feeling then drives the same thoughts, and that's called the personality. So then we said last night that your biology, your neurocircuitry, your chemistry, your hormones, your genetic expression, your health is all equal to how you think, act, and feel. You with me? So then how you think, how you act, and how you feel is called your personality. And we said your personality creates your personal reality. So if 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, and attitudes that function like a subconscious computer program below your conscious awareness, then for the most part, most people are unconscious all day long. Would you agree with me? Yes. So you can't take it personally, because they're just running on a program. And so then we said last night, it usually takes what? Crisis or trauma or disease or loss, and then people wake up, and all of a sudden they begin to become aware of how they're being. And because they feel differently, they can look at themselves for the first time. And that concept in neuroscience is called metacognition. And because of the size of the frontal lobe, 40% of the brain, that's where your self-awareness exists. And it means then you could modify your state of being to do a better job in life. You can look at yourself, think about what you're thinking about. And one of the greatest moments in my life is when I realized just because I have a thought doesn't necessarily mean it's true. In other words, don't believe everything you think. And once I realized that I had the choice to either empower that thought or not, all of a sudden I was able to observe it. So you would have to agree with me then that if you're observing your thoughts, it means now you're no longer the program. You're the consciousness observing the program, and you begin to separate yourself from that automatic unconscious state of being. How many people are with me? And wouldn't you agree then if you were changing a habit, whether you wanted to lose weight or stop smoking or stop eating chocolate, whatever people do, you're going to have to look at the things that cause you to return back to the same choice. And you're going to review in your mind, oh my gosh, I know that little devil's going to come up and say, go ahead, start tomorrow. Chocolate's good for you. It's all right. Everybody else is eating it, And you have to become selective about that thought's going to come up, and you have to overcome that thought. Would you agree? Because that thought's going to lead to the same choice, right? So you have to review in your mind who you no longer want to be. And then you're going to have to observe your behaviors. And as you begin to observe your behaviors, you're going to have to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that's greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional addiction or memory in your body. And your body responds to a new mind. It gets a rush of energy. And when it gets that rush of energy, you're giving it a sampling of the future. You're grabbing the reins of the stallion, and you're pulling those reins in, and you're saying, I'm the boss. And the body, the animal, begins to respond to your mind. And then you have to look at the emotions the feelings that you look forward to, whether it's guilt or shame or unworthiness, that's become so familiar, you don't even know that you're feeling that way. It just feels like you. And you have to decide then, does this emotion belong in my future? Do I want to bring this into my future? Because as long as I'm living by this emotion, I'm living in my past. So then as you begin to observe those states of mind and body, you begin to objectify your subjective self. And just like viewing a videotape of yourself, playing baseball, playing tennis, dancing a dance, speaking publicly, whatever it is, if you can observe yourself, it means you can self-correct better. Wouldn't you agree? So then the process of change then is becoming conscious of your unconscious self. And when you begin to decide every day who you no longer want to be, you are retiring the old self. And the body will crave the emotional payoff just like an addiction. And you have to understand that that's the biological, neurological, chemical, hormonal, physiological, genetic death of the old self. And when you begin to understand that, you can work then in creating a new self. And you can begin to emotionally give your body a taste of the future ahead of the actual event. And as we said last night, the emotional signature is exactly what signals the gene. Because the body does not know the difference between the actual experience in your life that creates the emotion and the emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. To the body, it's the same. So now, if your brain and body show physical evidence that the experience has already happened, then your brain and body are no longer living in the past. Now, in fact, they are a map to the future.
Hat dir dieses Video gefallen? Gib uns ein Zeichen und lasse einen Daumen nach oben da. Bist du interessiert an weiteren solchen kostenlosen Videos? Dann abonniere unbedingt unseren Kanal und drücke die Benachrichtigungsglocke, denn nur so stellst du sicher, dass du kein weiteres Video verpasst. Danke dir und bis zum nächsten Video.